Hey friend, it's dark half the time on this planet, so unless you got shiny eyes like Riddick, you're gonna have a hard time operating operationally unless you get night vision from TNVC.com.
Howdy folks, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, former Navy SEAL, founder of Trident Concept, and host of the Bulletproof Workshop powered by AR15.com, where we discuss knowledge, skills, and ability to help bulletproof your everyday performance in whatever your field or passion. Welcome to Podcast 041. My next guest is a second-generation Marine who served with the Recon Marines before navigated the defense industry as a senior executive at Raytheon. Bringing his experience generated from various defense programs, he's now CEO of Watchtower Firearms. Innovating precision firearms manufactured in the good old USA, they take their name from the Battle of Guadalcanal, or better known as Operation Watchtower, which I thought was super cool. As his chief loudmouth, he brought my good friend and fellow teammate Ray Cashcare, who needs no introduction since we had him on a previous podcast that you can check out in the comments down below. They are dedicated to redefining the American firearms manufacturing landscape in bold and exciting new ways. He's the generational patriot, blackout king, defense executive, 2A titan, and my favorite muscle car firearms manufacturer. Please welcome to the show, Jason and Ray.
Thank you for having us.
You are welcome. You're
Thanks,
very
brother.
welcome.
Appreciate
Thanks.
Yes. Yes, I did. I enjoyed kind of reading up and learning a little bit more about you guys. And, we've been in some rocky times here for like the last, I don't know. It's hard to actually put my finger on when things really felt they started to go sideways, but it's clearly evident now. And, making the push or the transition from big defense industry to small defense industry must have been kind of like a little, kind of like difficult transition.
No, actually.
Oh, good.
No, it was actually the easiest transition of my life.
Really?
Yeah. You hear people get on these podcasts or shows and they're always talking about, well, I had this epiphany moment. And I've never had one of these epiphany moments. I'm the guy who goes to a haunted house and nothing happens, like ever. Like show me a haunted house and I'll show you just like absolute quiet and relaxation. Like I never had one of those, but I literally sat through one of these check your privilege conversations. It was so utterly asinine.
Oh my goodness.
That it was just that moment in my life where I said, I can't do this. Like you can take the language and you can, I understand what one side is trying to do. I do. I'd be intellectually dishonest if I said I didn't. But the language and the way they go about it is so atrocious. I'll quote my wife. God love her. At one point in time in our marriage, she said, "I think you're right 99% of the time."
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you get that in writing?
Dude, I was like grabbing a phone. I wanted it, and then immediately followed up. But you're such an asshole. I can't hear you 100% of the time. And
that's a good one.
And that's kind of where we're at with this diversity, inclusion, equity, attack on a couple of other words to make you feel right about yourself. So anyway, yeah, I had that moment and I just couldn't do it. I said, look, I'm going to do something else. So it was
what
easy.
you wanted to do once you figured that out?
Well, it was kind of an interesting journey. So, you start thinking about this. Well, I'm not doing this anymore. This is socialism. You mentioned everybody in my family's been in the military and every conflict we've had moving forward, or in the past rather. And so I always grew up hunting, fishing, outdoors, had always been around the Second Amendment,
right,
but never really thought deeply about it.
Interesting.
Until much later in life. And the opportunity that I saw was like, listen, I don't like what's going on with the Second Amendment. I don't like the national narrative. So I'm going to go do something I'm passionate about, and I'm going to jump in the firearms industry.
Oh.
So it was literally a couple of glasses of moonshine on the side of a hill in West Virginia, and this is what we're doing. But the interesting part came second. The interesting part came when I started to dig into it. So where am I going to? Well, love Winchester, Oliver Winchester, great American.
Yeah.
Let's go call these guys up and figure something out. And
so you didn't know what you wanted to do. No. You just knew that you wanted to be in the 2A industry, basically.
Yeah. I'd worked at the more senior levels of government, and I worked at the more senior levels of corporate America. Like picking up the phone and calling somebody was not particularly scary. Nice. So wanted to look at Winchester, and the first thing I find out, they're not even an American company anymore. Right? So the licensing right is owned by Olin Chemicals. That's given to F. Herstal. It's a Belgian company for all intents and purposes.
Sure.
Well, maybe Browning. Browning would be I love Browning shotguns. Love shooting clays, big turkey hunter. Nope. That's also owned by the Belgians.
Wow.
Okay. Well, this is weird.
Yeah.
And so you start ticking through it. Colt, Samuel Colt, greatest of Americans.
Yeah.
Nope. Checks. So at a certain point, you're like, holy crap, this is sad. And it does not comport with that left-leaning narrative that you hear out there about the gun industry.
Yeah.
Right? It's most of our quote unquote titans of the firearm industry have long been gone. They're owned by European conglomerates. Most of the profit from those sales here in America flows back to Europe and other places.
Wow.
So, for me, it was like there was two things happening. It was like, holy crap, this is sad.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do something about it. Other hand is like, this is a huge business opportunity. I don't think most Americans understand that.
Well, I think first you've got name brand recognition, which is the reason why they've licensed those brands.
Bingo.
Is that the average American is just enamored with that name because it brings up emotion, memories,
evokes
history, and that's what they like to latch onto. And that's a beautiful thing. I think that's wonderful. But it does suck that, like you said, whatever profit is made is not being diverse. It's not being divided here. It's going overseas to other organizations or entities. And, that's just, first of all, good business on their part.
Great business.
Bad awareness on ours. Bad awareness to see that happening.
Well, and it also funds a culture that's anti-2A in a lot of these countries.
Yeah.
So it's very cartelish, actually.
It's always blown my mind that the Europeans can be so anti-gun, yet they don't care when it comes to business. When it's in that business setting, they're totally behind it. They're 100%. But now you start to see them kind of funnel some of their perspectives into the businesses, some of their viewpoints into the businesses. And you start to see how that's kind of changing, the trickle down effect, if you will, what we see in all cases. So you started looking and discovered that the American firearms manufacturing business, for all purposes, at that big name, long running business, is no longer really American owned.
Well, it's not American owned, and the few reasonably good sized companies that exist are just poorly run. They're just not well run. Coming out of Raytheon, where you get an MBA in business pretty quickly. I looked at some of these companies that failed. Remington's a great example. It's gone into bankruptcy twice, I think, maybe three times. I'm not sure about
it's
that.
a lot.
They've gone into bankruptcy a lot. So immediately I think, well, okay, it's these lawsuits. It's got to be the lawsuits, right? So you start digging into it, and it's like, no, you're just a bunch of jackasses. Like you really aren't following business 101.
What's so funny is because I think the average person believes that the reason why firearms companies struggle is because they're inundated with all these lawsuits that they just can't navigate through them. But in reality, and the other problem that I have with a lot of these companies, and I say that because I've been in this industry for 20 plus years, is that I do believe that they don't have the right leadership in place. And I also believe that they don't have a good future vision. They're so focused right here. They're not looking down the road, which to me, I'm very strategic in how we look at this, because everything that we've been seeing over the last several decades has been the incremental dismantlement of not just our constitutional rights, but our way of living.
Yeah.
And, I believe, and I know that you do the same, because we've traveled all over the world. You look at any oppressive regime or any country that disarm their populace, and you see death, you see struggle, you see blackness, right? And that's one of the things that separates us, specifically us, because of that one phrase in our Constitution that is exempt from just about every other country's constitution or their declarations that they have, is that, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
It's so different. And when I see that, I struggle to understand why people have no concept of that, especially when they're a manufacturer.
So that's another fascinating, great point. You start digging into the second, and there's so much, and I'm gonna bring this word up. Sorry if it's family friendly, but I mentioned this on Rob's podcast.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan has a term for this called fuckery. Okay, it's a great word.
Yeah.
It should be used anytime someone on the left talks about the Second Amendment.
Oh, 100%.
It's absolutely entirely intellectually dishonest, some of the things they say. And I'll give you a great example. So a gentleman who I actually admire, respect, especially what he did for the New York firefighters, is Jon Stewart.
Okay. Yeah.
He pulled this poor Oklahoma representative congressman. I don't know what the guy actually does. I think he's a federal congressman, onto one of his shows. And it was just a pure setup where he just started hammering him on, it says the militia shall be regulated. Now, John's not a stupid guy. Anybody who believes he's stupid is a fool.
Yeah.
But he's being intellectually dishonest. Word regulated in the 18th century meant proficient. The founders were telling everyone to be proficient with firearms, not to regulate them.
It's so true. And the hard part about that is, I think the other way to look at that is what the founders were enshrining was what existed at the time, the proficiency, because the proficiency with the firearm in that day and age meant not only that you could protect yourself, but that you could feed your family, you could provide for them, it's a completely different perspective. So a lot of people do not appreciate that time period and how rugged it was and how challenging it was. You couldn't just go down to HEB and buy yourself a steak. If you wanted a steak, you had to get out in the bush and find something and, shoot it, field strip it, bring it back to the cabin and cook it. So that is a huge difference in today's world, is that when we talk about proficiency, and I'm of the mindset that I believe that you can do more with the carrot than you can with the stick. Yeah. If we can incentivize people to be more open to being proficient, and I say that only because I want people to be safe. I want them to be able to protect themselves should they have to, but I also want them to appreciate the importance behind the Second Amendment. That really is a hard thing for a lot of people to appreciate. And if we created some sort of incentivized program that was voluntary, not mandated, not required, but just there for the taking, for those that wanted, but then that incentivization would probably open the door to a lot more people. And in the process, we educate, we help them.
Jeff, I agree with you, but I also think that there's, again, I go back to the biggest ill in the world right now, which is mainstream media. 27 states right now are now constitutional carry. 27. Okay?
Amazing.
Of that, I think 17 have been in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. There's another 10 states that are one or two words away from being constitutional carry. If you watch television, you're going to believe the predominant narrative is that of California, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. There's only 5 states in the union that have gone batshit crazy. Right? The preponderance of the rest of the country understands what the second means. There's no debate about it. You listen, the Elliott debates captured literally James Madison and George Mason debating, Federalist, Anti-Federalist, debating the merits of the Second Amendment. There was no disagreement between Federalist and Anti-Federalist. It was simply, do we enshrine this in the Constitution or do we enshrine it in the Bill of Rights, individual rights? And you can read it. Somebody took notes at the Constitutional Convention, believe it or not. Holy
That's
crap.
awesome.
But no one reads beyond just what their side wants to talk about.
Well, I'll tell you, I couldn't agree with you more on that. We've become somewhat entrenched in our own fiefdoms as far as our beliefs. And that division has only done one thing, which is helped those that are trying to change the landscape get what they want done. Because when we're divided, we're not focused on the big picture. We're infighting amongst ourselves. So it's a brilliant strategy. It's been effective, I believe, because it does keep us we have as a nation, we have the attention span of a 6-year-old. It's like
on a good day.
On a good day.
On a good day.
So I like the idea of I believe that one of the mistakes that we've also made is that we have created an environment socially, an environment where we lack a true understanding of our own history. So when you talk about the word regulated, we shouldn't have to have this conversation about what that really meant when they wrote it.
No, it's a silly conversation. We're defaulting to the IRS's definition of regulation.
That's true there.
I mean, we really are. It's silly.
But the point is that so many young Americans don't really have an actual understanding of their history and what that means. Because I believe if we did have more understanding of our history, a lot of these conversations would not even hold water. People would be like, what are you talking about? That's stupid. You know, and it's unfortunately, I feel like an immigrant who has to pass their citizens test knows more about our country than a high school graduate.
Yeah.
That's sad. That is like depressing. I mean, I'm not an encyclopedia on our own history. I know certain parts of our history very well, but at the same time, when you realize that somebody who immigrants here, who wants to live in our country legally, goes through the process of becoming a citizen and takes a citizenship test that actually has more knowledge of our own country than a born here citizen, we have failed. Something is broken in our system when that happens. Big time.
Yeah.
If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, TNVC.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night.
Ray, what brought you into the Watchtower family?
Well, they needed a seal. No.
They needed a seal, huh?
No. Jason and I actually met. You know, that's the longest I've been quiet my entire life.
I forgot you were there for a minute.
Just watching you drink your Chappuccino, drinking my cheap water here. My back's going out.
I think we found that in the dumpster in the back.
I love it. No. So Jason and I were introduced by a mutual party, and we were at SHOT Show, and
Nice.
kind of just I was actually you will enjoy this minus me telling him I was a Navy SEAL every 3 seconds.
3. Wow, he's getting slow in his
I
age.
played.
It's an age thing.
He was telling me what he was looking for, and it was kind of right up my alley. He didn't know who I was, didn't know the social media background and following I had, and he's mentioning all these influencers that are just our friends. Like,
yeah.
you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I know him, and I know him, and I know him, and I kind of just took I took the quiet professional approach with that. That's the only thing I've ever taken it with.
That's first time.
And he just kind of started doing some research, and I started bringing, a lot of influencers to the booth that we were at the time. It was F1. Now we're Watchtower, obviously. Yeah. And I don't know, just the dialogue started, and we had a lot in common. Obviously, we both love America, and he kind of just told me what his vision was, which I really liked. American made, American owned. That means something. It's why I have the flag tattooed on me. Sir, all of us served our country. We've bled for this country, and I started doing my research too. One of the things that he was saying, and I was just like, "Holy shit, man!
Yeah,
he's right. A lot of these companies that guns that I own, they're not American made. They're not getting their aluminum, their steel from America. They're not getting this from America. They're outsourcing things from South Korea and here and there, and they're bringing it here and just slapping it together and saying it's American made.
Yeah.
Maybe it's American built.
American built.
Built in America. Yeah. That's all that.
Pieced together in America.
Pieced together in America.
Good job.
Assembled in America.
They forget to tell you that. And the dialogue just kept kind of going, and I really liked what he was doing. I getting in on the ground floor for something like this is
it's always a blast.
An amazing opportunity. And
love those.
I was told that I was a C-suite executive, which I didn't know what that meant. I guess I'm pretty important.
Yeah.
But
I take my vitamin C. I think it's the answer.
Yeah, there you go. But it's I like it because it's a family environment, right? I'm big with that. So it's kind of like, we've got the CO, and you've got your worker bees, and you've got your management, which is your head shed, and I just I like where it's going, and we're doing a lot really quick, rebranding and getting the videos up. And we've got some amazing, ambassadors. We've got some other things coming. Our ARs are bigger, meaner. And when I say leaner, they're not more skeletonized than our competition series. They're heavier and meatier. And, I'll say it right now. We've got a 1911 coming out, the Apache, that is I showed him the picture.
Yeah.
I know,
Oh, did you?
oh yeah. And it's sick. Like people cannot wait to get their hands on this. I wanted to call it the Pancake because it shoots so flat, but he said that's the stupidest fucking name I've ever heard.
We ran it through a test.
We ran it through a test. Yeah, it failed.
Go well
miserably.
Yeah.
So, but that's why how I got kind of, I don't know how it happened. You know, funny true story is, and I got to tell the backstory. Me and the old CEO of the company, the owner of the company, kind of, he jokes around a lot. He hit me during a pretty dark period of my life and just something going on with my other job. And I wasn't going to SHOT Show. And I told him, you know, hey, pretty much go to hell and this and that. And my wife and him are good friends. And she kept saying, you know, Trish, she kept saying that you need to go to SHOT Show. You need to go to SHOT Show. And I was like, there's no reason for me to go to SHOT Show. And obviously there was a reason. We went it.
Providence, man.
We hit dinner. I mean, we hit it off immediately. And yeah, man, I'm in for the long haul. I like it. I like what we're doing. I like what we stand for. And, you know, I'll say it, you know, we're picking a fight with everybody.
Well, see, and that's what I appreciate. I can appreciate that because, you know, we've got to have some tough questions. Otherwise, it's just more of a, you know, it's not as effective of a podcast without some tough questions. So, like, when you look at this industry, because I'm sure that you did your due diligence.
More than a little.
And you looked at this industry, and not only did you find or discover that a lot of the household names that we grew up on are no longer American made. That probably was a major fissure for you. But, you know, what was in your eyes, as you started to kind of like tiptoe into this industry, what was the other major obstacle or challenge that you had that you identified and that you guys are specifically taking on to overcome?
Oh, I'm not sure there was just one.
Fair enough.
So I mean, I guess I'd say two things that are kind of simple and straightforward. One was just the sheer lack of routinized business practices.
Yes, thank you.
There's just a lot. Listen, and this is not a dig. There's just a lot of mom and pop organizations that they get a CNC machine, they build something in their garage, and God bless them. That's great. That's awesome. I know a lot of guys like that. That's not my beef. It's the major companies that are operating like mom and pop businesses, and America deserves better.
God, thank you for saying that.
Like,
thank you.
Grow up.
Yeah.
Your lineage is that of the Second Amendment. Your lineage has been paid in all of our blood, sweat, and toil overseas. Okay? Act accordingly. Right?
Love it.
Put together a business plan and stop playing defense. Go on offense for the love of God. Like, this is something that we should be proud of as Americans. Not like shuddering and I wonder if they're going to take our guns. Screw that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the first thing. It's just there's the absolute lack of any kind of business plan or strategy or vision from most of these companies that are quote unquote American. And then the other thing is just good people. So I learned at an early age, and then it was reinforced when I was in Marine Recon. You surround yourself with people who work out stronger, better, harder than you.
Oh, man.
Okay, if I'm the strongest guy in the room, we got a big problem.
Yep.
And so I've filled up our C-suite with other special operators, with defense executives, with people who are from the industry that know the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a team of rivals.
Yes.
Right? So does everyone get along? Hell no.
Yeah.
Does everybody do the right thing and advance this? Yeah, we do. So in 3 months, you know, Ray touched on it. We put out a new pistol. We've actually put out 2 new pistols. We put out 2 different variants of ARs that are limited editions. We've come out with a new bolt rifle. And this is 3 months. We've rebranded the entire company. We're running as hard and as fast as we possibly can. The next step will be concealed carry. The next step will be some additional hunting rifles. Our brand ambassadors are phenomenal.
Nice.
Talk about working out with people stronger than you. So, you know, Rob O'Neill's one of our guys.
Love him.
Love him to death. He's hilarious.
Fire-breathing ginger.
Bingo. Nina Rogers, Nina Outdoors. I think Ray's met his match.
Oh, I hate her.
She is just slapping him around. It was so much fun to
Rightfully
watch.
so.
Yeah. So 2 of the ambassadors actually did a TV show with. We did American Air Gunner Challenge.
Oh, okay.
So and he'll talk about the other ones. And I can't say whether I won or lost. I'm just going to say I didn't win.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I'm not supposed to say that, but I didn't.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm not going to say who did. I'll probably get sued for that, but I didn't.
We're just not going to count on you to be at the end of the show.
Don't count on me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So Nina's amazing.
Yeah, love her.
Love her to death. Mark D'Ambrosio, who's a former Force Recon Scout sniper. Great American. Just he doesn't have the large following that Rob may have.
Yeah.
But this guy, holy crap.
Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, super genius. Super, like what we're building with him. Like, and I want to touch, I don't want to cut him off, but something that people need to understand. Thank you, sir. It'll come out of my paycheck, I know. But a lot of times when ambassadors come to a company like Rob and them, I'm not going to lie, they were hesitant.
Yeah.
They were like, we know what you're going to do. You're going to come down. We're going to come down. We're going to pick an upper. We're going to pick a lower. We're going to pick this. We're going to pick that. And I was like, no, that's not what we're going to do.
Nice.
We are going to build you what you want. Like, and they're like, wait a minute, what? So they come down, they see this facility and they're like, wait a minute, this is no joke. Like our facility is massive. We do how much can we do in house?
We can put out about 1,500 rifles a day, a couple hundred suppressors a day.
Wow. So, and then it's like, okay, we can do this, this, and this. And then, Mark's like, I want it to weigh this and I want to do this. I'm like, yeah, we can do this.
Wow.
Just like with Nick. Nick's like, I want this 1911 to do this, this, and this. So we write down what they can do. Mm-hmm. Then we get our engineers in there and we're like, we can do this.
Nice.
And, they test it and they build it and they have the overall, I mean, obviously Jason has the overall okay on it, but we built it to their specs. Like Rob was like, this is amazing.
Nice.
So we have got group people. And the last individual we have is Nick Johnson, AKA PewView. I mean, this guy, I don't know if you've seen him. He's the one with Matt Best where Matt, he's got the Glock, he throws up the round and he's the one that like literally they point the skeet gun at him and he just shoots everything. He's insane.
Nice.
Iowa boy. So we have vets. 3 of them are veterans.
Yep.
One is an active veteran, which we can talk about. And Nick is an Iowa boy who he doesn't miss.
Yeah. I love that.
We're just doing great things. And I think when everybody comes down, I mean, he can tell you some of the big guests we've had. I mean, Alan West. Can I say who else just came down recently?
Yeah.
Senator Ted Cruz. I mean,
nice.
People are coming down, seeing this facility going, holy shit, you guys are legit. And what I love about it is, when we say American made, American owned, that's why, and I'm going to tell you what got me with him when I said yes. I was like, listen, so, we bought this company for, oh my God, an astronomical amount of money. I said, what happens if someone offers you another 0 to that? He goes, why would I sell it? How do I know they're going to be American? How do I know what they're going to do with it? So I was like, you're going to keep this company? He's like, yeah. And, he calls them, we're going after everybody. And it's not personal or take it personal, but, I've been under the false, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretense. Thank you. That these Glocks and these other weapons that I own were American. They're not.
Yeah.
I know H&K isn't. I mean, I'm not an idiot, but some of the weapons, Browning, Winch, I thought they were.
Yeah. It's easy to make that mistake. It is because again, that's what we grew up on. But I want to circle back to 2 things. First, I love it. I look at our industry and I look at it as a rabble. And we can't afford to be a rabble. We have to be organized. We have to be professional. And I'm not saying they're not professional, but when you talk about, hey, you want a seat at the grown-up table, you got to act. You got to act it. You got to bring your A game. And when I say that, I'm talking about, great, you have a fantastic product. That's awesome. We need that ingenuity. The American ingenuity is key. But at the same time, we need to have that infrastructure, the logistics behind it. It's my favorite saying, amateurs argue tactics, professionals argue logistics. And so if we don't have our shit together like that, it just makes it easy to get picked off one by one over time. And I want to see the heritage back. I want to see the legacy brought back here for what we do. This is us. This is who we are, and I love the idea of not being ashamed of that, not feeling that you can't be who you are. It's who I am. There's no changing that. And the industry is so, like, forgive my use of this term, gun shy about things that they cooperate to graduate.
Bingo.
You know what I'm saying? And when you said the second part to what you said is that we're never going to win or secure or safeguard our way of life, our liberties, if we're always on the defense. We have to go on the offense. And by that, I'm not saying that you start burning things down. What I'm saying by the offense is that it's what you were talking about. We have to have a plan. We have to be strategic enough, but also actionable enough to make that stuff happen. So I am excited as all get up to see somebody with your experience, your knowledge, and your passion, what you're going to do to stir the pot. Because it's like, just like you said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. When I show up on the mats over there in my neck of the woods, I know I am part of the food chain. I am not at the top, and I love it because it forces me to bring something to the table that I didn't think I could do.
Jiu-jitsu is a great analogy.
Is.
I'm glad you brought that up because, I mean, what do we all do when we get on the mat? You leave the ego at the door.
Oh, 100%.
All right. So I'd like to see that in our industry. Put your ego aside.
Man.
Go out there and go on the offense. Right. Listen, we're using combative terms in this interview because that's our background from the military. But what I'm really asking people to do is, damn it, be competitive.
Yeah.
Go out there and compete.
It's the hard thing. A lot of times I think, Ray, you kind of mentioned it, don't take it personally. People shouldn't take it personally because what made our country amazing is the fact that we have a capitalistic nature about us. And it's not a bad thing to want to try to be better than the next person. No. It's not a bad thing, but we've been beat down to think that, in this case, when you can get behind that and say, okay, the best person, widget, gear, idea won. Okay, I lost. What do I have to do? I have to figure out where did I lose this? How did I lose this battle? What can I do to get back into it? Because I feel like that's the other problem that we have is that I say this a lot in my industry, the training industry, which is, at the local level, I've got instructors that are willing to almost sell their soul for a $50 private. Then at the state level, I've got instructors that are willing to do it for like, $500. They're willing to kind of like badmouth and rather than, and I'm getting to this, but then at the national level, I even have instructors that are willing to do it for $1,000. And my point is that, listen, if you produce a better product, then you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to take these cheap shots. You don't have to try to undermine your competitors and all that other business. Just present a better product, stand by it, and let the chips fall where they may.
I couldn't agree more.
And learn from it. Like I've learned in this industry and from the training perspective, one of the things that, we do very well is that we hold people accountable in our programs. And it's one of the greatest leadership tips that I can give people is that accountability. And when we started that, it was not good. People did not like that accountability. People did not like having their egos bruised.
Yep.
Right. But that's one of the things that we do. We tell people, hey man, when you come to our programs, you step on that firing line, relax. Just do your best and don't worry about the outcome. Just put every ounce of effort you can into doing the very best and let the chips fall where they may and see what happens.
And it's not always going to roll in your direction.
It's not.
And most of the time it won't.
No.
Most of the time it's not going to roll in your direction. But what happened? You got better. You got better.
Here's the problem. Here's the other problem. And this is why I love talking about stuff like this is that we've become soft. We've become kind of like so sensitive. We forget what it's like to take a punch and a loss. And we let those define us rather than letting them energize us. Rather than like, oh, you know what? All right, you got me on this one, Jason, but I'm going to circle back. And when I circle back, I'm going to be better. That's the key.
Well, I see it in youth. I see it in big corporations. I see, America right now, like this new generation, you use the word soft, they're complacent, they're uneducated. And it's off the usually when people are complacent, it's due to success. So the younger youth is complacent off of the success that people like us and our forefathers have created for this great nation, right? We're seeing it in the industry right now. We've been in business, 3 months? Yeah. We've had listen, and we're not stupid, but we don't make comments back. Like I run the media and we're seeing companies that were already on the radar because they're already emulating us, which is the biggest form of a compliment you can have.
Huge.
We've had people make comments like, oh, American made, American owned. You're making a joke about that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You know who you are. Like that is all you're doing is saying that you would rather outsource something because what? You're going to save a few dollars? And the thing is we've found out a way to do it in-house and be even cheaper. So we can do it. Why can't they?
So one of the problems that I have when you talk about the business model and outsourcing is that is typically profit driven. profit driven, right? And so when I ask people about that, why are your profits driving your business? And I mean that in a sense of, I get why profits have to drive your business, but why philosophically are your profits driving your business?
Well, so again, going back to the business 101, I mean, that's a very normal thing to be profits driven.
Totally.
I'm not going to debate it one way or the other, but what I would say is also product placement. Where do you fit into the spectrum? What are you trying to accomplish? And the analogy I always make, we're not building Ferraris.
I love that.
We're not building Ferraris. We're building Hellcats and we're building Shelby Cobras.
Muscle cars.
Right? That's what we're building.
I get hair standing
because
up.
I tell you what, I have a jailbreak and I can smoke a couple of Ferraris. Okay. But what I paid for my Hellcat is not what you paid for your Ferrari.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we're making. We're making American muscle.
See,
That's what we're doing.
And I feel like, first of all, I love that idea, that notion. Like I was saying, like that just gives me chills.
And we're going to do well. We're going to do extraordinarily well with that space in the business model.
Yeah.
Right. Ferrari only sells so many cars because of exactly what you're talking about. They're profit driven.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at what Dodge has done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't keep them in the stores.
Yeah.
No.
I had a 7-month wait for mine.
Oh,
So, I mean, again, I'm using an analogy.
of course, but it's relevant.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
So, the things that I and I like your I like drawing out your perspective, because I feel like, whether you're a business owner or whether you have a high stake in this industry, in this game, one thing we need to do is we need to take a hard look at ourselves and be willing to acknowledge some of our weak areas, some of our mistakes, and be willing to take on some criticism and some suggestions and be okay with that. Like we were going back earlier about being soft and so fragile with everything, we come from a background, all of us, where, every morning your faults were on the front stage and people were making, hey, Ray, that's awesome. You're doing a great job. Okay. So you always had that. And, that drove me personally to not want to be better, to want to be, and I feel like that competitive nature, that competitive edge is, obviously we can take anything to the extreme, but in a healthy dose, it's so valuable. People just don't appreciate that these days. They're so used to they're so used to a juice box award. Yeah. Everybody shows up, gets a juice box.
Well, I had a conversation on a live this morning, case in point, we all have similar backgrounds, but a guy, I went viral for making a guy quit one of my programs a while ago. And then what does this have to do with guns? Everything. There's standards.
Yes.
So they were like, well, why didn't you give him a refund? Because he sucked, because he didn't put in the time and the effort. He thought just because he paid X amount of dollars, he was entitled to something.
Oh yeah.
So people are like, that makes no sense. So then today I'm like, well, let's look at the military. Yeah. If you don't make your 4-mile time run, your time runs, you're done.
Yeah.
I broke it down to I know your lady, I know your wife. I told my wife today. So I took her out. I was spending a lot of money, right? Hey, trying to get where, what we're doing, right? We're men here, we're savages. Lots of dinners. If I didn't make the cut, was I going to get the money? Was I going to get reimbursed for the dinner? She's like, you're out of your fucking mind. So my point is right. I can make this relatable to anything, but yet I still have the younger generation that cannot relate to it because they still live at home. They haven't done anything, and they live off of mom and dad. Like case in point, I'll tell you what I see more than anything. Kids nowadays, 18, 19 years old, they don't want to get their driver's license.
Wow.
What is that? Because their parents want to drive them around. I don't know. I couldn't wait to get my license. I couldn't wait to get a job. I couldn't wait to get out of the house and be alone. Not because I didn't get along with my family, just because I couldn't wait to be independent, because 100%. That's what I was taught. Nowadays, it's, I've got kids that live in my neighborhood that are 30 years old living with their parents. Oof. That is not normal or right. My wife's like, well, no.
It's interesting. I don't know. Goes by a lot of different terms. Universal 25 is one of them. It was an experiment that was done back in the 50s or 60s. God, the gentleman's name is escaping me, but he did this experiment several times, repeated it with the exact same results, which is he created this utopia for the rats. They had all the water they needed. They had all the food they needed. They had all the exercise. They started with like 4 rats, and they multiplied, and they got to this environment where things were good. Everything was going good. But what ended up happening was the male rats became feminized and less interested in producing and reproducing. The female rats became overly aggressive and also became less interested in reproducing. And with time, they became so aggressive that they stopped reproducing and the colony eventually died out. And that experiment's been repeated so many times with the exact same results. So the reason why I bring that up is that I see parallels between that experiment and what's happening in current society, because, the government has tried to come in here and create the utopia where you don't have to do anything. What's happened? The males have become, the male toxicity, blah, 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 blah.
Masculinity is a bad word.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, men have been feminized.
Yeah.
And then you got on the other side, you've got the females that are feminists that are overly aggressive about their perspective, their views. And I'm like, what? Am I watching this rat colony experiment in real time? But that's how you can't help but wonder, is that kind of what's happening here? Is that what's happening? Because when somebody doesn't want to flee the coop, get out there on their own, is it because it's just so much easier? They don't have to do anything. They can just be there and then not do work and not have to do anything, live off everybody else's, hard work. I don't know what the answer is, but when I read that experiment, I was doing a lot of double taps. I was like, what? That's so crazy. So I can totally appreciate what you're saying, because I feel like that's one of the problems that we have is that I have no business talking about females, but from the male perspective, I see that. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what our future generations are going to look like, because our children are our future.
Yes. Just like me and my wife went out the other day, and afterwards we had to stop off at Target. Now, what's this have to do with guns? Nothing. But she saw a guy in a dress wearing some earrings, and she's like, I almost went up and asked him where he got that outfit from. I'm like, if you do, I'll divorce you. What is
some of the best makeup I've ever seen? Where'd you buy that?
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Literally, she had this moment. And she was like, what the hell? And then, that starts striking up the other conversation. What bathroom is he going to? Because let me tell you what, my 15-year-old daughter goes in the bathroom and that goes in after, we're going to have problems.
100%.
That just recently happened where a guy went in there and knocked out somebody. I have no problem. Listen, do what you want. Don't get it around me. I don't care if people hate me or not, but I told my wife the same thing. Like, if I wanted to date someone in flats all the time, like, I think it's great that women want to wear Birkenstocks and shit now, but like women, there's a time and a place where women should dress up. Just remember this, young lady. Because I told my wife, if I wanted to date someone in flats, I would have dated boys. And my wife told me if she wanted to date someone that wouldn't protect her, she would have dated a woman. So I think men and women have their roles.
100%.
And we need to get back to that, right? I'm not saying like I'm the provider and she's a stay-at-home. No, I'm not saying that, but there are roles and responsibilities that each of us have to have. And I'm the hunter and the gatherer. I'm the hunter and I do gather. She's the gatherer, but she's also the educator. She takes care of
100%.
the kids. And that works for us, but
it works for a lot of people.
But we're trying to do too much integrating and stuff now. I promise you, minus Halloween and having a few drinks with Turbo in them, you'll never see me in a dress. Back in the day, that was a fun thing to do. I dressed up for like Rod Stewart. I dressed up like Tina Turner. Now I won't even do it.
Wait a minute, Rod Stewart wore a dress?
If you think I'm sexy, no, the tight leopard skin outfit he wore.
Okay.
Wait a minute, wait.
Don't ask.
Wait, no. That doesn't work on, so first off, Tina Turner's way taller than you.
I know, but
like that's
I wore this.
That's not even believable.
I used the same wig for both events though.
Oh, there you go.
The 2-for-1 special.
I love that. Oh God. All right. Well, let's bring it back to
let's
more the
go back
stuff.
to guns.
But
I'm not going to get that visual out of my head.
No, me neither. Because I was trying to think when Rod Stewart wore a dress. But anyhow, back to so you guys have, and I love the two things that you really focused on: be better at business and go on the offense. Stop thinking you're going to just get everything handed to you. You've got to go out there. All right. So those are the big challenges that you guys are coming and you've recognized and you're tackling that. 3 months, you guys have, put yourselves on the map. Well, I mean, 3 months is not a long time to actually be in the space and have the type of reaction, I guess is a good way to put it, that you were getting. Yes. Competitors, and this is this is my piece of advice to competitors, right? Because I don't like to use that term sometimes. If they're truly competitors, they're more a compliment to what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's how you got to look at this. Well, all right. Bring me your A game, because if that's not helping me to bring my betterness, my best out, then you're not helping. All right. So now you have your plan. What's the roadmap look like though?
Roadmap. Well, now you asked me before this, is there anything I don't want to get into, like that's super secret? And I gave you a bunch of Pentagon answers. I'm not sure I want to.
We want to go down that one. Let's go talk about that stuff.
Let's go talk about classified stuff. That'd be way easier. No, we have a very detailed roadmap, as a matter of fact. But let me say this.
Go for it.
Everything we do, whether it's foreign military sales, whether it's sales domestically, we're taking all that profit and just turning it right back into the business. When we acquired F1, we bought a facility with a massive amount of untapped capacity. We're gonna soon fill that up.
Nice.
We're looking to build and buy more acquisitions of different companies, probably ammunition, probably some barrels, just a pure barrel factory in and of itself. And then just expand across a couple of states. So our roadmap is growth. Our roadmap is reinvestment. Our roadmap is expand across all domains,
God,
all
I love hearing
spectrums,
this, man.
and then reinvest in the people, right? So have specifics. Right now, we've converted what used to be F1 into our Watchtower Precision Works.
Nice.
So it's really an R&D skunk works kind of vision. And I want to bring in more people. I want to dump more into that. I followed what SIG's done with the MCX or the Spear, whatever they're calling it this week. And somehow they missed, like, I can't believe this. I mean, it's all over the internet. Like, you can't slam a magazine home without the bolt catching on it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they didn't do that, but it seems to be all over the internet. They've had a range of problems with it. We're never going to field something like that unless that thing is ready for prime time in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
So again, we're pumping more money back into the company for R&D, making sure everything we put out again is that Hellcat or that Cobra Shelby.
So that's the thing that I am excited, because with your experience from the defense industry, your ability to look at it from such a different perspective. Like, I mean, it's the same perspective of sorts, but it's just at such a different level and looking, and I'm excited because I want to see our industry excel. I want to see our industry continue to grow. I want to see our industry do well. Everybody wants that. If you're truly a supporter of the Second Amendment, you want to see our industry grow. But it's not going to happen if we just kind of fall, get complacent. And I love seeing what you have as far as your vision, your future vision. Let me kind of change it a little bit. You've obviously generated a lot of experience. So when you are looking at, I always thought you were going to sneeze. I was going to say, bless you, my son. But I'm going to still say it anyhow.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So with everything that you've done, and I'm imagining, I could only imagine the projects that you were involved in and the go, no go process. What is the secret to managing failure then?
Well, you don't manage failure, accept it. We talked about it a little bit about this earlier, but there's nothing wrong with failure.
Okay.
People fail all the time. It's really what your risk tolerance is.
Oh, talk to me about that.
Okay.
I like that.
You want to talk about risk tolerance? Let's talk about Elon Musk. Let's talk about, dropping spaceships because it didn't work out. Well, I guess we'll do it again tomorrow. Yeah. Like that's risk tolerance. We're not talking about that, but we're going to have failures. I'm expecting to have failures. I'm expecting, we're coming out of the gate. Ray and I are coming out of the gate swinging.
Yeah.
We're going to be a target. I know that. I get it. We're going to get embarrassed somewhere, some point along the line. Something will go wrong. And my response is going to be, awesome. That's great. Yeah. My bad. We're going to do better.
Yeah.
Right. Things happen. If you're not willing to fail, then brother, you know this. You're not going to be in the teams. You're not going to be in the reconnaissance community. Like, we have our past are checkered with failure.
Yeah. The thing I brought that question up because I feel like somebody from your background, the amount of projects that you oversaw or were involved in, I can't imagine that they all went well.
Oh God. No, none of I'm the most unsuccessful person on the planet. Yeah. What the last podcast I was asked about, the recon selection is like, what'd you how did it work? How'd you go through it? I was like, shallow water, blacked out constantly.
Yeah.
Like that's how I went through it. But I didn't quit.
Yeah.
I just didn't quit.
Yeah, I like that. I remember watching that, and that was the pun at the Blackout King.
Yeah.
Success,
people are like, what were you good at in recon? Drowning.
Just like everything we do, success is an ugly process. Becoming a SEAL, it's not a pretty thing.
So
like on a serious note, with business.
That's the thing. I think you really hit it on the head there. Success is not pretty.
No.
And everybody has this idea that, if I just do A, B, and C, everything, but you don't realize how messy it is. You don't realize the struggle, and I feel like one of the things that is lacking in our society today is the appreciation of that struggle, which then produces resiliency.
Yeah.
And it's the resiliency that I feel is like one of the most important traits. If we look at our community, one of the most common traits that we see from successful frogmen is resiliency.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine that in the recon community, it's probably pretty damn close to being the same.
Yeah.
Resiliency is key, being able to bounce back and get into things.
Well, it's built into it. Again, failure is part of the program, right?
Yeah.
If you like to walk down the utopian socialistic road where everything's managed and then you're two rats and you die off, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. But anyone else in a competitive environment, you don't have to be a SEAL. You don't have to be a recon Marine. You can be the kid on the high school basketball team or football team.
Yeah.
Right? You're taught to compete.
Yes.
And when you compete, you fail. You're going to fail way more than you're ever going to succeed. But if you take that into the business context, now there's a difference between constantly screwing something up and not learning from it. That's a different thing.
That's true.
That's a totally different thing.
100%.
And people who do that, well, they're not going to be around very long. But you're going to fail. You have to fail. You have to embrace it. And then again, it's messy, right, brother?
Yeah, I love that. It's not pretty. I like how you put that,
his famous words to me are no. Because I'm learning, right? It's 3 months. I'm in Buds right now, and it's his vision. I fail all the time we're finally starting to get into our rhythm, but I was producing content. He's like, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I want. And I think the big key to our success in only this 3 months is you have the addition and the deletion. So what we did was before we can add, we have to subtract. We had to subtract a lot of the content that we had pre-existing. That wasn't the image or the outlook that we wanted, right? So the tits and ass, the silly stuff, we had to delete that because my first thing was, well, let's add to what we have. And it's like, no. So I learned something from a business perspective. And I do this in life. You have to delete the negativity. You have to delete what's holding you back. So then that will free up more time for the addition. So before we started creating all this new content, my God, I was spending 7 hours a day deleting. We have all these different deleting, getting rid of people that weren't serving us purpose. And this is something I do now, right? You have to delete, you have to quit the things that don't serve you purpose. So we quit that. Yeah. And now that we've done that, now we're adding the content and the people and the ambassadors and the dealerships. And that's why we're taking off so fast, because we took a step back instead of just going, okay, let's stick with, we had 2,000 people we were following and we're down to like 700 now. Wow. He gave me specific instructions. If it's shit, I want it gone. And I was like, what does that mean? And he gave me a laundry list, and it was a big one. So I just delete. And it's a process because you can't mass delete. And now that we did that, he's like, but we're going to add this, and this. So it works. I follow that in the battlefield, business field, and home field of my life.
So true.
But that's why we're on this road to success fast, because we're doing it right.
So we talked about this before the show, trying to remove or segregate toxicity, get that out of there, and that's, it's brilliant. It's a beautiful strategy because my cup is only so big. And if I filled it with nothing but negativity, that's all I'm going to be.
That's right.
And so purging some of that stuff, clearing it out, it's not easy because there's that, like, you don't want to let go of stuff at times, but sometimes that's the best thing that you can do, because that creates the volume that you need to then fill with the things that you want that are going to push you, propel you forward.
And it works because we have, I think, 7 different platforms that we're run off of, 6 or 7 platforms. Wow. And every week mean, he runs this. We have meetings.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday meetings. And for the last month, we have been increasing. Like at first I was like, oh, we're going to lose all these followers.
Yeah.
We don't want them. They're not.
That's the thing, you know, you get wrapped up in this new social media kind of idea, and everybody just associates it with likes. And I
likes don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Man.
I've had some harsh words because, you know, I will hear people talk, well, he's got this many followers. I'm like, and
it doesn't.
What does
that mean?
And I'm like, how does that translate to your bottom line?
Exactly.
How can you show me on paper the roadmap that leads to the bottom line? Because that's exactly right. It doesn't. But yet we have created this idea that, oh, okay, well, that must mean good. That must mean good, because why would that many people follow them if it's not good?
That's right.
But unfortunately, you know, I believe this in today's world that a lot of people would follow people off the cliffs.
Yeah. The white buffalo.
Yeah.
White buffalo.
Yes, exactly. So I love it.
That's a good place where Ray and I really complement each other. So he's deep into that because of the work he's done in the past. And I lean on him for pretty much anything relating to media.
He doesn't know shit about social media.
I'm really
but he's learning. He calls me. I'm learning. I'm like, all right.
Did you say something wrong? Did you?
No.
I'm just talking about the learning aspect.
But that's the true caliber of a true leader who wants to learn every aspect of the business, right?
Yeah.
He was like, you know, I'm gonna lean on you. That's his words. He leans pretty hard. But now he's like, hey, I'm noticing this. I mean, his wife, God bless her, I love her. She comes up with ideas and we talk. I mean, it's great getting outside perspectives. But now he's getting
he's starting to figure it out,
because he understands that you can't just wave your finger at things all the time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of bad leaders be like, do this now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just our new website. Oh my God, our new website is
it looks
day and night. It's beautiful, and
nice.
and there's more coming.
Good.
I'm not going to say what.
Yeah.
But it's legit, and it's taken a lot of time.
It does,
and a lot of fucking money. But
well,
we're doing it. It's awesome.
Well,
but so let me finish the thought. So I lean on Ray for a lot of this stuff, but also at the same time when I'm doing that, look. So the last time I checked into media, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson was playing, and Waylon Jennings was at the top of the charts. Like I don't care about social media like in the way young kids do today.
Oh God.
And so I'm constantly challenging him to your point a second ago. Well, we have 800,000 likes. Okay. Did sales go up? Okay. Did we produce a better product?
Did we get feedback of some sort?
Did we beat out one of these foreign companies that are stealing the American piece of the pie? And so, like, what does that mean?
Man.
And so, again, you know, he sits down with me and says, "Okay, look, moron, this is how we, this is how it supports your roadmap."
Yeah.
And then I come back with, "Okay, got it. I understand what you said, but does it do this, and this?"
Yeah.
So it's a good constant tension.
And now I know I can get the analytics from big commerce and other things where if we spike, I can go, "Yes, sir. We got
Here's
this
what
many.
happened,
We got the sales went up on this day. Well, what did we do on this day? Well, we went on the podcast. So that's how we can analyze the data.
Damn, we have to write Jeff a check. Got to get him a check.
Give him a check.
But so, you know, I think that's brilliant. I do. Like there's obviously everything's got a plus and a minus, a pro and a con. You know, social media is no different. You got to be able to figure out how to use it to your advantage, but you got to appreciate for what it is. It's a fickle thing. It's so fickle. It's so incredibly fickle. So I have an idea about what your answer is going to be, but I still would like to hear it. What do you want as your legacy?
It's our vision statement. Very simple. We're setting out to create the next great American firearms company.
I love that, man.
Period.
I love that.
Quick and to the point.
It is, but it's
powerful.
But it is.
Yeah.
It is. And when you think about it, it's simple. I'm not saying it's going to be easy.
Those two words are defined differently.
Very much so. But I love that simplistic approach. And, you know, everything that I've heard, everything from your future vision, the business plan, how you're executing, what the roadmap looks like. There's no reason for me to think that you guys aren't going to be successful, that you're not going to get to where you want. You know, I feel like, you know, the obstacles that you guys will come upon, which we know they'll be, is probably going to be less of an obstacle than you think. Probably, I feel like you're going to get your momentum going, and then those obstacles, nice. Yeah. So let's also kind of like, we're talking about from the 2A side. But let's talk about it from the political side, because I know that you also bring a fair amount of political, experience, or let's just say some backroom type experience. How can that experience help you, not only help you and Watchtower navigate, but also can help our industry flourish and kind of like dance around these mines that are out there?
Yeah. How do I want to put this? So first off, I don't think politics is a dirty word. I'm not one of those guys. And, and I love the conversation earlier about, kind of where the country's going. And again, I guess, call me Pollyannic, call me naive, call me somebody who just turns off the television. I don't think we're in as bad of a place in this country as others may think.
Okay.
I'm far more optimistic.
I love it.
Again, I
100%.
go back to 27 states are constitutional carry.
Yeah.
10 relatively close. There's only 5. Those happen to be the same 5 states that control mainstream media in the country, right? So I think there's a lot to be happy about. I think there's a lot of things that beneath that mainstream media talking point that are going right in the country.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, geez, now I forgot what your question was.
Oh,
Jeez.
well, so like so let me back up and give it an example. You have all this experience from an understanding of the political landscape.
Yeah. So, I don't think politics is a bad word. Clausewitz defined it as the natural extension of warfare, right? So we have some exceptionally good relationships with some of our representatives, some of our senators, some of our executive branch members, and we have it both on the right and the left. There's actually quite a few people on the left. They're very pro-A. They're just never going to say it.
100%.
They're just going to batten down the hatches, focus on what they
toe the party line.
On. Because listen, I'll be honest, I'm a strong national security guy. I'm a strong 2A guy. After
I'm
that,
so surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I know. But after that, like a lot of the dogmatic,
I don't really get into it.
Yeah. Look, are we safe to do whatever the hell we want? National security, and if anything goes awry, do we have a fail-safe? Second Amendment. After that, like guys, it's time to go hunting. Like, stop. Just
so. I think first of all, you're right. There's we tend to not over exaggerate, but we tend to put a lot more of the negative slant on what might be wrong or bad. And I look at it from a perspective of, okay, when I look at, and I don't want to compare our country to other countries, but we are by a long shot much better off than many other countries, even though we might be haggling over these things, these petty things.
Not even close.
Yeah, we are so
we've
far.
all been to those places.
Exactly. And so we have to keep that in perspective. We have to remind ourselves, okay, we have the freedom to be living in a safe state, and we don't have to necessarily worry about those kinds of issues that a lot of these other countries have to worry about. My concern sometimes has to do with, for example, you mentioned California as one of those 5.
Yeah.
And it's, I believe California is like the, I wouldn't say the battleground, but more like a test tube. They do a lot of things in California to test them to see how they're going to take nationally.
They're going to be amazing at the rate of failure they've had.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they're coming out on this like SEAL Team 6 operators.
They got
if they're learning from their failures,
they're learning. Holy
they should take over the world.
Oh my God.
But I kind of like think, I try to, red cell things, play devil's advocate, and kind of see what's going on, just so I can kind of try to put myself in their shoes to figure out, okay, well, what do I need to be worried about that? Should I worry? Blah, 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 blah. And one of the things that I'm paying attention to is, Gavin Newsom, perhaps, in my opinion, one of the worst examples of a successful governor, just for all the reasons that we've talked about, is now a potential presidential hopeful. Yeah. And
for what party?
I don't know. But the idea, if I understand some of the scuttlebutt, is that, he would make a better president than Biden. Okay, fine, whatever. But my point that I'm worried about is that he has...
That would make a better president.
That's true. That's true. Well, if it was empty.
Yeah.
If it was empty, because there's still fluid in there. But the like he's proposing a state amendment that would radically challenge the 2A. And, you know, again, how states will create these like experiments to see how they work and then to test them across the nation. And basically, rather than see the Second Amendment ratified through legal means, to create an amendment that would almost null and void or significantly restrict what the 2A is. So that's the kind of things that I worry about.
And so it's a distraction, though. Again, I keep going back to the mainstream media stuff. So everybody hit pause, because I think it's literally one of the stupidest political stunts in human history, right? So first off,
love it.
The Supreme Court, through the Bruin decision, like that law that he wants to put out, first off, it will be struck down day one. It has absolutely there's no chance.
I love it.
There's no chance of that surviving Bruin, right? So, and what Bruin did is it reaffirmed what we already knew if you read a history book, which is the Second Amendment is an individual right to keep and bear arms. It is your individual right.
Yeah.
No different than breathing and going to the bathroom, right? That's your right. That is purely political grandstanding. Gavin Newsom is a lot of things, but he's not stupid.
100%.
Okay. So he's putting that out there for purely political purpose for people who can't pick up a history book or read the Bruin decision.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I go back to 27 states have concealed carry now. Does anyone understand how you repeal an amendment before we start getting into the conversation of Gavin Newsom like magically creating a law?
Yeah.
Like, first off, he's an executor. He's not a legislator. So first, the California legislation would have to do that. They probably would. But look, I mean, there's two paths to repealing an amendment. So people can stop hyperventilating. Either 3/4 of the House and Senate have to agree, or it has to go to the states, where 3/4 of not their houses or senates, but of essentially like a constitutional body they'll appoint. Have to vote, and you have to get 3/4 from each of the states. Well, we've already established that 50% on, like more than 50% on a good day. Actually 3/4 if you tack on those other 10. Are running the other direction. It's mathematically impossible. You can't even come close to it. So again, you throw out silly conversations that are not based in fact, history, tradition, anything. And you get people spun up about it. Like, get it out of your head. That will never happen. Cannot happen. There's no legal precedence for it. It's a silly conversation.
One other thing. I mean,
why don't we, like, again, if Newsom wants to do something, take 2 Joint Strike Fighters off the production line, take that $300 million, $400 million and reinvest it into our schools. Do something. Put up a fence, put up a camera. Pass a bond measure so you have armed security at your schools. If that's your problem with guns, there are 8,000 solutions, but not one of them has to do with
repealing the Second Amendment.
I thought he hit it on the head when he told everybody in California they had to buy electric cars, and then they ran out of charging, and he said, don't charge cars. That's when I knew he was the one. That's when I knew he was the chosen one. He is as dumb as the day is long. I know you say he's not. He's a smart man, but he does some dumb shit.
I think so too. I agree with you. And I'm so glad that you basically, because what happens is we get all spun up over these things. And it's exactly what you said. It's a distraction. It's designed to get you foaming at the mouth, to get you all nervous, all anxious, all worried, and not paying attention to what's happening over here. Not being focused on some of those stuff that's legislation that's actually making its way up through the House, through the Senate, and all this other stuff.
That's what scares me, is what is the distraction from sometimes? I don't know. That's what worries me.
That's the key. I tell
when
people
you do
the same
something
thing.
that's stupid,
and
that's like you said, that happening is not going to happen. But what is he trying to shift our focus on?
Well, he's appealing to a base that, listen, again, what's the percentage of the country that has a college degree? It's relatively small. And it's not about the college degree or not a college degree. It's about the critical thinking skills you should learn either later in life or through college, one or the other. So, I mean, he's clearly appealing to a base. And of course, it's identical. He loves to run Trump into the ground about his base. But there's zero difference if you're going to get into that conversation.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
So, again, I understand what he's doing, but if you're interviewing somebody for the job, and your job is to be the chief executive, and you're proposing legislation that doesn't work. Like you're failing your job interview day one.
Yeah.
Man, it's so true. Well, we shouldn't be surprised that many of the people that have been candidates are terrible candidates for the position. Absolutely terrible. I mean, no background, no real understanding of any of the critical components to actually being a leader. Like we forget that that's what is at the top of that, that list is being able to lead. Yeah, we haven't seen good leadership at the top in a long time.
I'm looking forward, and I think the day's coming. It maybe this election may not, but I'm looking forward to being able to vote for somebody as opposed to against somebody.
Yeah.
That is such a valuable and really hard to appreciate perspective. We have been doing that I've told my children the same thing. I'm like, hey, listen, I try to help them look at the voting card, first understand what it is that you believe in, what you want to see, what you hope for, then look at the candidates and try to understand what they're promoting, what they're pushing, what they're doing. And basically I also have to throw in there, also look at the candidates that are doing what you don't want to do, because and I'm kind of like, I hate to say it this way, but I'm kind of encouraging to look more at that than what they want, what they want to see as far as their leadership, because you can vote against what you don't want, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to get the other guy. That doesn't necessarily mean he's the better.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that he's the guy. It just means that he's not this guy.
Yeah.
So that's a frustrating thing, but it's a great point that in the last couple decades, that's exactly what we've been doing. Not voting for somebody versus trying to vote for somebody. I love that. It's a great perspective. Let's start wrapping things up here with a final question. I'll have another question for you. This question is for you.
Okay.
What do you want as the biggest takeaway for our listeners?
You should come visit us at www.watchtowerfirearms.com, where the very best American rifles and pistols, suppressors, and accessories are sold. No.
I taught him the soft pitch like that.
That was a good soft pitch. I was going to give you plenty of chance to do that. But
No, what I'd like people to take away is we're bringing back that American pride.
Yeah.
We're bringing back that made in America, not only narrative, but reality.
I love that.
There's nothing wrong with the Second Amendment.
Mm-mm.
We're pushing hard, and we want the country's business.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I love hearing that. I think you have somebody that's, in your C-suite. Ooh, look at that. That has got a good perspective on that. And I think you're doing really good there. Ray, this question is for you.
Okay.
All right. How could you let an 8-year-old boy beat you?
So, there's a lot to that story, but this is what I'll tell you.
That was solid.
So let me get serious for a minute. So the year before, obviously I beat him. And this year, however you want to say it, he won. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
you
I told
didn't
him,
win. You can say that too.
Yeah, I didn't win, but I told him the true caliber of a man, whether you're 8 years old or 18 or 80 is, what are you going to do now? Because I told him, now I'm going to come back. So you trained for a year. Are you going to stop training, or now you're going to train harder?
I love hearing that.
So, and I told him, don't answer me. I'll see you next year and we'll find out.
God, see, that's what I love about you, man.
But I will tell you, a true leader knows when to lead and when to pass on for others to lead. So we're going to see what he does. If next year he can't do that many, I will tell you he's going to get smoked and I'm going to prove a lesson. Now, if people need to think I'm weak because I let an 8-year-old beat me, excuse me, I'll take that.
Well,
I'll take that.
I think the more important thing is that 8-year-old put the time in.
And that's what I'm trying to do with America.
Exactly.
I'm trying to, just because you win, right? That's when the work begins.
I was just going to say that.
You graduated your course. We graduated, buds. That's when the work starts. You're not a SEAL, right? So I told him, you've won nothing.
Yeah.
What I need to do now is see what you're willing to do. The win and the willing. Are you willing to go farther?
Yes.
And he said, yes, sir. I said, I don't want to hear it. We'll see next year.
We'll see. All right. That's great. So let's talk about, where can folks find more information about you guys? You kind of already did it.
Yeah,
but I'll let
I
you
kind
do
of
it
just
for
did
officially.
That. So that was my official media training.
Oh, good. Well, it was good. Good job.
So let me do that.
Yes.
So
Yes, you're the
on watchtowerfirearms.com is our direct line. You can hit us up on pretty much if you punch in Watchtower Firearms, whether it's with the underscore or not, it will come up on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're on Rumble and we're on YouTube. So we are on everything. All you have to do is punch in Watchtower Firearms, and I promise you, we come up and we've got great content.
Awesome.
And we shoot red, white, and blue. That's what we do, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So, hell, come down to Houston, check out our facility. We're in Spring, Texas.
Nice.
We've got a giant facility, and we welcome people to come in. We've got a showroom where we show people what we have. I will tell you, you better be an American if you come in, because if not, when you leave, you will be.
I love it. My mom lives in Spring, so I'll have to make a trip out there. All right. Well, that wraps up everything, folks. I really appreciate it. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Thank you very much. I want to thank our audience for tuning in. I want to thank the men and women, the sponsors, for being so important to us. And I want to thank the men and women that are on the front lines, keeping us safe, doing what they do. Check out all our previous podcasts by visiting thebulletproofworkshop.com. Learn more about me and train opportunities by visiting tridentconcepts.com. Until then, I'm Jeff Gonzalez. You're listening to the Bulletproof Workshop podcast. Stay safe or be dangerous.